Hey, it's Joe Glines, and I'm just going to demonstrate and show you some of the stuff I automated this week. So to start off, it's going to be a little confusing, but People Data Labs was an API someone had mentioned to me, and I got a notification from them saying, hey, we updated some stuff. So I went back to look at it, and I realized if I pass a LinkedIn URL, so let's go, like if I was to come in here and get mine, which I think is, how do I do that? Look at my own profile. I think this is my Joe Gline, right? This part is, I think, is what I pass to it. Maybe it's these two combined. I can't remember, but it would pull back information about that person, not just from LinkedIn, but other data they have on them. Predominantly, a lot of it's from LinkedIn. So I thought, hey, you know what? Why don't I come in here and I'm going to search for AutoHotkey, and I have. So there's 45. Wow, it's gone up. It's good. It used to be like in 3,000. So it's gone up. But I'm going to limit this. Actually, I could have done more. You can get the first 1,000 by clicking here and next. So you can get 10 at a time per page, and then you loop over it. And so basically that's what I did, although I filtered it on my first results, but I didn't have to because, of course, I could get anybody's doing it this way. And actually, that's a great one. So my next step will be I'll come in here and get my second connections, which I don't think I have that many because most of mine, either you're my first or you're not, right? Because I've tried to connect with a lot of people. But I can go in here and let's say it's second or third. And I can get these guys' contact info and write them and say, hey, I'm just trying to connect with you on LinkedIn. Please add me. So that'd be a cool thing. But meanwhile, I went back and I got my first level connections, which I had over 1,000. But this API that I hit, the People Data Labs, it gives you a free 1,000 per month to do data calls and extract them. After that, I think it's 10 cents a piece, which adds up quickly. But what I did was I came down here. Well, the call right here is this in conjunction with, and I'll bring it down there just so you can see it. So this is the function calling. I'm going to bring it down here just so we can put them together. So this is the function API call, and this is the endpoint you're going to, and then the query string builder, and it's your API key. So these are you write a little function called query string parameter, just concatenates them with the question mark and a ampersand and things, puts them in the proper thing for HTTP protocol. But the API key, I have it hidden that way I don't have to show you and block it or anything. So it's just not in here, but that's my key that I got with them. The URL, that is and this is where I was looping over that file and just each time getting in the next person. And then how you want to return it. Do you want it to return? I probably didn't need this because I didn't really care how it looked, because I was grabbing the JSON data. And so I was working on it, and I'm like, hey, it'd be pretty cool to get a list of like the most common job titles and most common job functions and the most common skills. And then I started thinking, well, that'd be cool, but it'd really be cool to have, a lot more of the data. And so I was talking to Matrix about it, and he said, yeah, let's dump it into a database. So that's where he basically took over. And he wrote the bulk of this script as it comes out to it is, so this is just for testing. So if I put a 1 here, it'll clear out that database, all the tables for me in the database. So this really isn't part of it, but he creates a database. And then he creates these different tables with fields. I think you need to create the field first, and then we start looping over the people. And let's see, that's somewhere in here. So here's where we're looping over. We get all the people, and then we start looping over them. So this is where we start going over it. This is just updating the information. And then it goes through and grabs it and then takes their data and shoves it into the proper table. So he did all that in here. So the whole thing, look at that. It's really not even 100 lines if you get rid of the line breaks and stuff. So that's pretty awesome. That gave us, now let me show you, there's 2 ways I can do this. There's a plugin in Studio if you have it in the folder, I think. So these are the different tables. So this is the company table, and the unique ID is that person's unique ID. So that's what joins all of the tables together. I'm not going to click on email, but let's do like functions. We can see also the different functions that one person had, a bunch of different functions, right? Skills is another one. So this is interesting, and I can hit export, and that's actually what I did, and that gave me the bulk files. But what I really needed was the data to be transposed. Let me see if I got an example of it here. I can't remember if this is, I think, yes. What I really needed was the data to have a unique ID for the person, and then to have, this is the column header, and then basically it's a 0 or a 1 if the person had a degree in computer science, or a 0 or 1 if the person had a degree in engineering, or a 0 or 1 if they had it in management, and so on. Because what I can do with that, once I have that, I take it into a statistical program I use. And let me give you a little quick look at it. This is one of the trees I made. It's a additive tree. It shows you correlations across the things. And so you'll see this is the skills, right? So you can see it makes a lot of sense that people who work in C also work in, I think that's C# with the C++. The C++. C# is the pound. But with AutoHotkey, it's VBA was the highest thing that was correlated, because this distance is it's the closest thing to it, right? And then these are all kind of a branch off of this whole branch. So apparently people also work in data analysis, research. They do teamwork, PowerPoint, Word, Microsoft Excel, Office, right? All that makes a lot of sense. So I went through and did these for each of the things. We'll probably share this stuff at the next webinar is my hope. So we'll go deep in it then. So I didn't want to get too much into the data analysis. So that's why, the other thing, let me show you the script that this dumps it out as not as a flat file, but as a table. And so what I needed was, it's the data. Actually, let me just export it and see. Well, that's not where I wanted it to be. Let's put it here. Well, you know what? Let's see if that's the right one. No, these are all the other kind. So this one should, here we go. This is the function and then their ID, right? And this, while interesting, is not a lot you can do with it in this format, because you can do frequencies on it and say, here's how many were RPA developer, which I will also do. But I really needed that other structure. And so that's what he wrote a program for. Let me go ahead and show that one, because that one he actually did on his own, because I know how to get the structure this way by transposing it in SPSS. And it's not hard, but it's a little tedious. But in one of, here we go. So people database, and maybe it's this one. Yeah, so here I can click on, this is the field I want to use for the unique ID. So it's going to be person. And then from here, let's look at their majors and major, and then use ID. And this automates creating that table, and I can export it. I can also limit it. This is limited to the top 25, because it can have thousands, and that'll actually, SQL can't handle thousands. And even then I can't put thousands in the additive tree, but it's pretty cool. He cranked this thing out in not a lot of time. Again, for doing stuff with GUIs, it's amazing what AutoHotkey can do if you know what you're doing. I don't, so I don't touch stuff like this. But he's very fluent at them, so he can crank them out. All right, so that was that one. Another one I actually got was I had written this before. We just had to update it. I'm opening it here. Is we had done a tool that my friends, another client, they do surveys, a lot of surveys. That's my background, of course. And I still help them out. And they are doing a study in Spanish this next week sometime. And what they get is they get an export of data in Spanish, but of course they don't speak Spanish. So I have this little script here that it looks at the file, it opens it up, and then says what language, what column do you want to look at? I think I can open this without. No, it's privileged data, and I'm not sure if the data is fake, so I don't want to open it. But it basically says what column do you want to translate, and you point to it, and then you say, what's that language we could have had on the detect language, but we didn't do it on this one. But then we changed it to Portuguese because it was in Portuguese, and then here's the hard coded ones we put in there. We could add more to this, but right now we have French, Italian, Spanish, English. What in the world's LA? I don't remember. I don't remember. Anyway, it's not Latin, is it? I don't know. And So you select the column you want and select the language you want to translate to and hit a button, and it goes out and translates every one in that field and then just inserts a column basically into, I think it exports it to a CSV file and inserts them in there. Usually, I think they were like 5,000 rows, and it took about 30 seconds to run, and it probably costs like $1 for the translations. It's really inexpensive, and you read them, and the translations are pretty darn good. And actually, they did a test with someone else that was supposedly doing them by hand. So humans, you'd think they'd be better. And from their one test, it actually came out that the Google Translate did a better job on average of making it understandable. So that was interesting. So anyway, so that was another one I worked on. My Gmail sender. This is on the forum, and here's one. There's two URLs. I think it's really the same URL, just one with a specific entry to it. But it allows you to send straight from AutoHotkey using this CDO COM object, and it the only thing I got to say is right here, when you put in a password, if you're using your Gmail stuff, you don't put in your Gmail password. You have to go create a special app password. And if you look for it, let me put this a little wider here. If you go to the automator /Gmail_app_password, you'll find it, or just search app password out Gmail app password, and you'll see where you get this new password that's what you use. It's just a security measure Gmail put in several years ago now. I'd say like 4 or 5 years ago easily, that you have to do. So it's a little confusing, but these are the settings, and you can send out emails. And so I was putting the subject line, here's the HTML. Oh, here it is up here. Here's the HTML for the body. So it sends them out. If you want to attach a file, this is where you can play with attaching files, and it's pretty awesome because you can automate sending emails or automate giving the script. The reason why this came up was a friend of mine was doing some stuff, and he wanted to be able to have it automatically email him the results of what they did. And so I'm like, why don't you just configure this, right? And that way it'll automatically email you, and they don't have to do a thing, right? It's just part of the program. It's in the background. So that's what I worked on. And the copy HTML, I'm going to put this, by the way, in a separate script. I'll record a separate video explaining it. So if you want the source code, it'll be in there. But then there was the copy HTML, which I actually put that in a separate video as well. On this one, someone had wanted to be able to come in here. Actually, I don't know if this is running. I don't think it is. Exit out of this and launch it. Now I can come in here, and if I highlight a hyperlink, something with a hyperlink in it, and I hit this, it didn't work. Let me go, I don't know if, let me try it on, not that home page, my home page. Let me try, oh, you know what? I don't know if I turned that off. All right, what did I do? What did I do? Did I mess something up here? That's working. Send clipboard. That should be working fine. Message box, href. Let's get rid of this. Relaunch it. Come back in. Weird. This was working fine a few minutes ago when I recorded the video on it. Maybe when I was cleaning out some stuff, I got rid of something a little too much. So let's troubleshoot it real quick, right? Let's see if in here, try. Let's see if this try should have a lot of text on it. So I'm going to relaunch it, come back in here, copy that. And that's interesting. So it's not there, which means I think I must have screwed something up. Let me turn off all of this. and then I'm going to manually copy it to the clipboard. Copy. Oh, I don't think I reloaded it. Copy. You know what? Let me make sure. Let me try different browsers to make sure there's not something weird with IE right now. Copy. Huh. I don't know what I did. It was working just fine. So all right, so this goes into here, right? This is the function, comes into here, creates that object down here. Com is global. That WC. Those includes right there. I don't understand what happened. I'll have to play with this. All right. I went back. I just reverted, and it's working. I'm not sure what I had messed up. I probably should try to figure it out. But what you can do is if when you have HTML on the clipboard, so I can highlight something, hit my hotkey, and it grabs the href, right? What actually the hyperlink goes to. It grabs the source, the page it was on, and it grabs the text that was highlighted. And even if you only have part of the text highlighted, and I hit my hotkey, so it'll get those other two fine, but here's the text now, right? So it doesn't rely on it. But also notice this is .1 each one of these. If you do all more, it puts all of them in their separate little objects, right? So it's easy to say if I wanted multiple instead of just one, I could easily break that out and get each one of those. A user had written me and asked if I had anything like this for grabbing just the URL, but I thought, hey, I'm already there. Why not grab, the nitty-gritty stuff? So I had basically written this thing out, and then Maestruth came in and started looking at it, and we were playing with it, and I was trying to do something, and then we realized, you know what? It's just smarter to, after you get it, to create a COM object and write the HTML so we can navigate the DOM and just rip it from the DOM. And then that way it gets the proper text of what we wanted. So that's what I've been up to this last week and a half, somewhere in there. Cheers.